You're listening to the Vacation Rental Key with T&T, the podcast for vacation rental managers by vacation rental managers. I'm Tim Cafferty, and I manage two companies, one in Virginia and one in North Carolina. And I'm one of the two T's.
And I'm the other T, Tiffany Edwards, born and raised in the vacation rental business. I help manage our family businesses from Key West all the way to Kauai.
In the next 30 minutes, we're going to give you our keys to success in the vacation rental business. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Vacation Rental Key. Thanks for tuning in. It is August. Hard to believe, but you know this industry changes fast, and as operators and owners, we're constantly trying to figure out what actually moves the needle and what's just noise. So today we're going to cut through the noise. We're going to give you some keys, as we always do, to where strategically spend capital to actually drive guest bookings. And we're going to look at how you can maybe keep guest bookings as well. Does that sum it up, Tiff?
Yeah, that sums it up. And I know I say this every time, but I'm actually really excited about this. I feel like we're sharing a lot, but most people will go, oh, yeah, that's a great idea. But you go back in your inventory and you're not really having these conversations with owners. And I feel like our keys today are based on years of experience and what actually drives some of the revenue when you ask owners to put money and there's return.
Especially in a year that we've experienced, all of us have had to work a little harder this year to make sure those calendars are full. And so you get the questions from the owners, what do I need to do? Well, they're putty in your hands then, right? And so you can talk to them about these two keys we have for you today. Again, attracting guests. And then the second key would be keeping those guests. Let's get some repeat renters. That's what we all look for. So attracting guests, what's on the top of your head here other than, let's see, hot tubs, pool, elevator? Those are probably the top three, right?
Check, check, check. But you're actually going to say, but we're in August. ACs are now a must. And I have to say that because we have a lot of locations out west where some of the homes are historic or they're on an island and they don't necessarily have AC. But we're now in a climate situation where guests are expecting air conditioning. And so any way that you can provide that in split units, it's now being pushed as an amenity, as a separate amenity for a lot of these locations. So if the owners have done well over this year, try to really start talking to your vendors and offering some preferred rates and pricing and offer that proactively to your owners. We are at a point now that it is very difficult to find a location where you don't need some type of AC accommodation.
Yeah, I think we're talking to our mountain communities, particularly where it's sort of an option. And to me, as a guest who comes from a hotter climate, that's an immediate red flag to me. I'm like, wait a minute, they don't have air conditioning? That's sort of like sheets on the bed, I think.
Especially, like I said, now that they're identifying what has AC or doesn't on listing sites, you're removing a very large pool of individuals who may be traveling from other climates who don't even understand what it would be like to not have AC. So even if your property can accommodate that, just go ahead and try to work with your owners to get it in there because it will attract bookings.
One of the other things I see quite a lot here lately is that I hear from my operations team all the time. We want to get the guests out of the house, get them to the pool, get them to the beach, get them to whatever it is. So making sure that outdoor living space, guests just don't want a deck. They want an outdoor oasis. They want to see that high quality polywood furniture, which won't blow away, premium grilling station, maybe an outdoor TV. It turns a basic backyard into a primary selling point. And it's not that expensive from an owner standpoint to look at it from the outside in. And it also keeps them out of the house. So the wear and tear inside is much better.
And it photographs so well, right? A lot of these individuals at the time of their booking cycle, when they're looking at photographs, they're starting to imagine what their experience is going to be. And to be able to have those memories with their loved ones outside and spend that time outside Give them that vision. But also, we've had in the past a lot of owners who've maybe pushed back on expensive furniture. And we've done cost analysis of how often we've had to replace something, especially the cost of us having to go procure that or delivery or reach back out to the owners and looking through to see what the warranty is, as well as if you're in an area that is a hurricane climate area, what furniture can withstand that you can make an investment in is better for the long run. So start really analyzing that and having those conversations, but they can create wonderful pictures and experiences for your guest.
Another attractor that I have found, as you know, I am married to the paint color whisperer. The way she can pick out tones and make a room pop is just it's a skill. And so a fresh coat of nice quality paint, not a big expense, but it can make a huge difference in how a property is presented to a guest. Something about that look just draws you in. Bring a professional in if you have to. No, she's not available for you, but it
For
is
a
a skill.
price, and she might be available. Let me know your location.
She's the only one that I know that has the Benjamin Moore and Sherwin-Williams paint color codes memorized.
Well, she is very impressive. That is definitely not a skill that I have. Everything we have is accessible beige or agreeable gray. There's no differentiating from the two. They're almost one shade different than the other. But you are literally reading off of my list. I also think and would love to add that you need to start talking to your owners during that business development time or even your check in time and set an expectation of how often they need to paint. To me, it's pretty often, especially when you have guests come in. There's just little nicks and tears. And so you really need to pay attention to that because that paint is so important. It's really a first impression for a lot of guests when they come in, but also in photographs. If it looks really great in the photographs and then it's not so great when they walk in, you're not setting a good first impression.
We've talked about that in some previous episodes. You don't want to get that review that says, "Not as pictured." Ooh, that's like a gut punch, isn't it? What do you mean? We just took those pictures. Another area I think that you can guide an owner to is making sure that kitchen is a heavy hitter. Upgrading that kitchen to make it sure that it looks sleek. It has matching stainless steel appliances, maybe a dual coffee station, a standard drip maker and a Keurig or an espresso or all the above. Provide those high quality cookware items and a knife set that actually cuts. That may be a keep 'em thing rather than an attract 'em thing, but if the appliances don't match, that's a not attract 'em thing.
Absolutely. And the way that appliances are going now, I actually just heard within the office 2 different refrigerators that we had to replace. They're not that old, but to have it fixed for a part doesn't make sense. You need to be really selective of what you replace it with because it does all need to match and be cohesive. And really thinking through, you have a property, but maximizing your flow of items. So putting your utensils, that's probably a keep 'em thing too, but putting your utensils in the right area where guests can easily kind of try to find things is really important. And I'll add some other keep 'em as it relates to the kitchen, but I would also add into the list investing in landscape on the front end. So high quality, low maintenance landscape, I think is really important. You'll have a team that usually takes care of it. But again, you're looking for that beautiful picture when you have it online in any of your listing, but also that picture needs to be able to be consistent. And I hate to say it to anyone who might be related in a landscape, but we have ebbs and flows of teams. We start out really great with teams, but then we have to replace them. So really thinking through what kind of foliage you have there so that it's easily maintained and that the cost doesn't crazy increase. We have a lot of owners, especially in Key West, that love this huge foliage in the background and it's very picturesque and it's just very difficult to maintain, especially during rainy or not rainy seasons. And it's really expensive. And so when you're using that picture online, and that's what the guest expectation is, you have to really make sure that you can deliver on that and your landscape team is on top of it. On the front end, review what the landscape is, work with your owner to make sure that you can help maintain it. And if they have a little bit larger budget, maybe make some changes so it's easier maintained.
I love that you mentioned that. Xeriscaping is not a thing anymore,
No.
right? You hear the owner say, "Well, they're not coming for the front yard." No, you can leave the front yard out. They're not coming if you leave that yard like that, because, again, the Tinder mindset, they're flipping through those pictures and they see a nice manicured, maybe evening shot of the house with all the lights on and everything looking beautiful. That's the house they're picking, baby.
And the other thing that has been really great as it relates to regulation is that most areas now require some type of sign where it has your phone number. We've had it in our areas for a very long time, but now some of the other markets are requiring it and have your logo. That is an advertisement for you. So it is an opportunity for people who are driving by. That's the first thing. And the only thing they see is that front landscape. And then also for potential owners. I mean, it is a great advertisement for you, but you need to make sure that it's kept up.
I'm gonna digress because you mentioned signs, and since our last episode where we talked about funny things that happened, I heard from one
Yeah.
of our listeners, and they said someone was driving by the property and said, "Is that house still for rent? Because it still has your sign on it." Sorry.
Mm. I thought of a few more too in the week since we've done the last podcast. I'm like, we've got to do another one. If you haven't heard it, you've got to go back for some light, comical relief.
Yes, it's August. We need the relief. I've got another one here. How about that whole remote work hybrid infrastructure? We've talked about this before as well, Tiffany. Don't just settle for the standard local internet. Upgrade to the highest available tier of high speed Wi Fi. Ensure that the whole house is covered and create at least one dedicated quiet workspace with maybe an ergonomic chair, desk, easily accessible power strips, even USB stations. That is another attractor for guests.
And I would encourage, because it's not a crazy expense. So a lot of vacation rental dominant areas have resort communities, and within those, or the HOA, and within those HOAs, they have an automatic, kind of Wi-Fi or fiber. Add on as much as you can. And if there's any additional fiber that's going in, make sure your owners are aware and then upgrade to that. It's very important. I think we've even said this on a previous episode, but attention span now is about 3 seconds before someone will move to the next page. And so you're thinking about people who are trying to work or they're just logged in all the time to the internet. You got to make sure that it is fast and it's a great, easy investment for owners.
Don't let them cut corners on that. Last week, we had an internet outage over the entire Outer Banks, and you want to talk about some messaging? It was like bing, 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 bing. Nobody was connected. They actually had to talk to each other for about 3 hours. It was crazy. Ooh, don't let that happen again, people. So
No, and I will say too that on those high, really, really high peak seasons, we've noticed in a lot of areas, cell phone towers are very difficult. So people's cell phones will be very spotty. So they're relying a little bit more on some of that inside internet connection. And so do yourselves a favor from the owner and from the business perspective. Make sure that that's on there. And I have a really good one. Everyone should already be on this. We should have probably put that with the hot tub, the pool, but professional photography, continued updated professional photography. And I don't mean on a nice camera. I mean, go get the realtor photographers that come in and can maximize the space. They can utilize the lighting. They can showcase the room without getting something awkward in the background. It is so important now. And I think that if you look at what comps are, not only in your area of other vacation rentals, but look at what realtors are doing and their realtor pictures, that's what you should be mimicking because that's what consumers are looking.
love that. An owner can spend $50,000 on renovations, but if the photos are dark, blurry, taken on an old smartphone, it's wasted money. So if you want to look at it from the investment side, if you're talking to a property owner, make sure their lighting is good inside. Make sure they have the proper lamps and the space is usable. Can you read a book with that 40-watt light bulb there? Maybe not. And again, the twilight photos we just mentioned, aerial photos, they dramatically increase those click-through rates on search results pages. It's the highest leverage spend an owner can have.
And it's funny that you have lighting on there because I actually have on mine upgraded lighting. So we have used ChatGPT to take a picture of a property. And if some of the sconces are out of date or some of the ceiling fans are a little out of date, we'll take a picture and then we will then put in an item that is available in our local area that we have the pricing for and have that merge into the picture and show the owner this is what it could look like. It looks like an immediate renovation and doesn't look quite as dated based on some of that lighting. And it's not that expensive to do. So utilizing that chat GPT to generate that picture just for your owner, not for your listing, is really helpful in getting them to spend that money.
Glad you clarified that because somebody's gonna come up to you at a conference, go, "You said we could use" No, no. No, we didn't. Hit the back button 30 seconds and re-listen to that. We've talked about attracting guests, and we've kinda leaked into keeping guests as well, but let's dive in. Keeping those guests in the house. What kind of tips do we have there?
Number one for me, absolute most important, and it kind of falls into my number two as well, but mattresses. Invest in those mattresses. Think about when you go to travel, your greatest complaint is mattresses and how terrible they are or how nice they are. It's one of the first things people will say when they talk about a house. It's just something we always go back to. Invest in good mattresses and also know how often you need to change those mattresses.
Bad night's sleep guarantees a bad review. So, conversely, a resort quality sleep experience is one of the most frequently mentioned highlights in five-star reviews. Comfortable bedding. Love to hear that. And you said it very well. The way it was put to me a few years ago is anything the guest comes in contact with needs to be high quality. So not only the bed and the sheets, of course, but the seating as well. Don't cut corners.
That's so good. And that leads me into one of the things we highlight a lot with you is intentional bedding. So I love your blue bedding. We've done something similar in a lot of our properties, but really thinking through what that high level quality of bedding is, how you can then wash it, turn it, and make sure that you can keep high quality. So if you have layers and layers of bedding, how are you really going to make that turn and be able to make it nice when we don't know how often you're cleaning it? So intentional bedding is really important. Having that conversation with your owner about where to place that expense. That's how you keep them.
Believe me, for those of you that are on the fence about making that move to a standard bedding for your properties, believe me, I get it. It's not an easy decision, but once you make it, it does pay off. The guests love it. Capital LOVE. In fact, we've been able to track through searches those who have that amenity. It's a searchable amenity. The searches are tremendously higher than those without. So it will pay off in the bottom line. And it could be an owner expense if you want to pass some of that along to them, but you're the one that's going to have to keep up with that. So that's big. How about little things when you get in the house to help attract those guests? Luggage racks, something you mentioned off air. What a great idea.
I love luggage racks. I think that the most important thing about luggage racks is guests may not always use it, but they're intentional then and they know maybe I should be more careful with my luggage and putting it up as opposed to slinging their luggage all over the place, hitting it into walls, laying it all over the floor. We've had less wear and tear if we've kept the luggage racks. And it also creates a little bit more, I don't want to say a luxury, but upscale experience. And it's something that we try to replicate from hotels, similar with hangers. Make sure you have some hangers in the closet. Make sure that they're a little bit more high quality hangers, easier to replace, and make sure that your inspectors or whoever's going into the property can replace those. But some of those items will help provide some guidance for your guests and limit the wear and tear.
Love that. Another one we've sort of hinted around at it, but I don't think we've homed in on it, and then that is the well-maintained property. Making sure your owner knows, don't cut corners. Have a monthly air filter change process in place. Nothing turns a guest off worse than the hairy filter cover grate or the rusted vent or the water heater that doesn't quite get to 100 degrees. Those kind of things matter for guests in the house.
Owners who invest, I think personally, and this is anecdotal, I don't have any specific data as it relates, but I feel very strongly that when we push owners to invest in some spring maintenance of their HVAC, some additional cleaning, that has helped us overall in the long run of not having air conditioners falter, be replaced as quickly. I think it's really important if you talk about investment to owners, it's making sure that they have the items in the house that are necessary to keep a guest there working and functional, and then creating some type of maintenance program around it. So that's something really important. And then the other thing, this isn't probably quite as good in terms of keeping, but I'm really particular, an ice maker in the refrigerator. I don't need a standalone ice maker. If you listen to our last recording, some ice makers may be haunted, but I think it is so important than them having to go get ice, bring it back. Who knows where they keep it? It's melted. It's all over the floor. We're getting it on the countertops. Get something with an ice maker. Those last longer. You'll have less calls. Guests will be happier. Put that in for your owner.
I think it's an expectation now. When I go to a property and I open that freezer and it doesn't have the automatic ice maker, I'm like, really? This is in our rental program? We have plastic ice trays? That's our standard?
Yes.
What? No.
And who else is using that? Ugh.
Or as you said, it has a standalone ice maker, which are notoriously breaking down. I think this is the summer of broken appliances, but ice
Well,
makers,
and
oh, they're the
ice
worst.
makers. And then it's also to think about the filters. Those filters run through so quickly. So unless you have a really great, robust system of tracking this maintenance to purchase those separate types of filters, because every owner is going to have a different ice maker, and have those on hand and have someone be able to replace it and tag to let someone know to replace it, it's going to become an issue.
We've well established you're a little more bougie than I am on this podcast, so I may be out of bounds on this, but I find it comforting when I go into a property and the owner has taken time to get the labeling machine and put labels on the light switches. So I know what in the frick this light switch controls without having to go through 14 switches to find the dining room light. That's a guest experience thing. What do you think? Are you with
I
me?
I love it. Listen,
Okay,
I
good.
am I am bougie, but I'm all bougie is also about convenience. So I personally still have trouble in my own home of which lights go to where in our kitchen, and I've been there for almost 10 years. I am a huge supporter of this. The other thing is that I don't know why, and again, I'm not coming off on any kind of electrician, but you will turn one light on and then several lamps go off. Why is it in vacation rentals that you have that? You have to have all the lights on, but then you have to physically turn the lamp on or the fan. No, I want it all labeled. If there's a remote control, I want it all labeled. But I also want the owners to invest in that label maker, and I want them to invest their time into putting it
Yeah.
together.
Yes, the owner needs to take responsibility. So I'm glad you said remote controls too, because I label all mine king bedroom number 1, queen bedroom number 2. So that helps the quality control inspector too. When they find 7 remotes in the living room, where do all these go? Right.
Yes.
So yeah, that's a little guest experience thing. Talking about owner investment here as well. So we're starting to wind down and the keep 'em thing. Here's a tip that I have given out 100 times, 1,000 times, but nobody does it. A handwritten note from the property owner, either welcoming the guest or thanking them for staying after the fact. It is gold. I am telling you, people, first of all, they open the envelope and go, oh my God, handwriting.
Mhm.
Who gets a handwritten letter anymore with a stamp? My Lord, stamps just went up a few cents, but still, it is worth the return on investment, Mr. or Mrs. Property Owner. It's an easy tip. If you do both, welcome note and post note, and maybe ask them for a review coming from the property owner, that means so much more. And I think that's a great way to keep them because they feel connected, right?
I'm just so glad you brought it back to bougie. Because mine is a little bit less sentiment. My last one is a little bit less sentimental, but it is definitely a top priority for me personally. So we like to make sure that we encourage it for all of our owners. But shower heads. So making sure that our shower heads have nice pressure through them, right? Or have some type of that they have additional spigots, right? That it's not just one little trickle, especially if you're in an area that has a lot of sand or you're in an area with soft water versus hard water. You need to be very conscientious of that, but that is definitely something you need to talk to your owners about. And then also on your inspection reports, looking at those shower heads to see if there's any rust and knowing that those need to be replaced pretty frequently based on your water that is in your area. But that is a top number one, very easy investment for owners.
Another thing that comes in contact with the guest. So that's right in the same category. That's great. You got any others you hiding there on us?
You know, I like to end it on the bougiest one.
Well, thanks for hanging out with us today on the Vacation Rental Key. We hope these insights helped you build more independent, profitable vacation rental businesses. We'd love to hear from you. We always do. So if you have something to add to our list, please hit us up. Put it down there in the comments. Send us an email. You may hear it here on an episode very soon. That'll do it for this one. That's it for me. So long, everybody. Thanks, Tiff.
Bye, everyone.